Present here. My name is Tanmeet, and as you all know, I am the COO Legal Human Rights Protection Group and MFP Federation, and I'm also an assistant professor of law at Punjab University, Chandigarh. Now, being an assistant professor, I'm used to delivering 1-hour lectures every day, but don't worry, I won't do that to you today, right? So, being a professor, I teach human rights, but my love for human rights goes back a long way before I became a teacher. Now, my passion for human rights, my love for human rights began when I was a student. And it began on one fine day when I realized that human rights is a square. Please bear me out here. I realized that human rights is a square, and that a square is not formed by two lines. Allow me to explain, please. Now, as we all know, a square, as I said, is not formed by two lines. It's formed by four. The first line here being the state which has to ensure that every individual has access to basic human rights. The second line, formed by each person who stakes claim to those human rights, who says, I want the right to life, I want the right to a healthy environment, I want the right to education, I want the right to a lot of other things. The third line, ladies and gentlemen, is formed by the judiciary. Internationally and also in my own country, the judiciary has been very active in ensuring that everyone has access to human rights. But the fourth line is the most important one, and exactly the one which has been missing till now. The line which has to be drawn by us in undertaking our duty to ensure that every individual in our country has access to human rights. Now, that fourth line, because it is a duty, and I have learnt by experience that human nature is such that no one likes anything being imposed on them. So I'm sure a lot of times when we fought with our parents to have the right to go out at night and party, and we have got access to that right, but in return when our parents told us, be back by 9 o'clock, we've come back on purpose at 9:30 because we don't like anything being imposed on us. That is how it works in the case of human rights also. Now, in undertaking and understanding this duty, I undertook it upon myself to conduct a certain research, my doctoral thesis on the human rights of beggars. Now, why beggars? Because I realized that there is a very vast disconnect when it comes to us and beggars. Now, this disconnect, ladies and gentlemen, occurs on two stages. Please allow me to explain. First, between us and the beggars. Second, between the state and the beggars. Now, how between us and the beggars? In the first case, when we sit in our fancy air-conditioned cars and we rush past or we drive past that young mother who is holding a malnourished child in her arms. We drive past them without noticing them. Maybe because they're too malnourished for us to notice. We sit in our cars and we drive past every small child who's sitting out there on the roads and asking for money or food. And we don't notice them maybe because they're too short and they don't reach up to the windows of our cars. We sit in our cars and we stop at traffic lights. And there is a beggar who is crippled and who starts walking towards our car at that red light. But by the time he reaches us, the light turns green and we again move away. The beggar wasn't quick enough to approach us for help. That is one disconnect, ladies and gentlemen. The second and the more important one is when our hypocrisy sets in. Out of 365 days in a year, on 360 days, we all feel that beggars are idle, lazy,